Yeah, that's true. And actually, not that much has changed for us other than, like there's different protocol for people coming in the building, and that's for anyone, whether it's an employee or someone who's been arrested or, with lawyers and bonds people that come. And, so like you get your temperature taken, and if you have a temperature, you can't come in. And there's a questionnaire you fill out, like, have you been, in the last 2 weeks, have you been exposed to someone who was confirmed to have had the virus? And, do you currently have a cough, temperature? And so, there's a screening process, but it's really not that difficult. So to me, it hasn't changed the way we do things that much. It hasn't been really all that inconvenient, I don't think.
Where we work, I work for a company. We build industrial products. I sell the industrial products. And we do the same thing. Your temperature is taken when you come in the building. You have to sanitize your hands as you come into the building. No visitors are allowed in the building. Very few visitors are allowed in the building. Some necessary vendors do have to come in. The air conditioner broke. He needs to come in to fix it. The computer goes haywire, so the IT guy, he has to come in to fix that. But for the most part, nobody's allowed inside. Our lunchroom, our break room is closed down. Nobody can eat inside of the building because the rule is you have your mask on at all time unless you need to take a sip of coffee or something. Okay, if your mask you can't have your mask on when you're eating, so nobody eats in the building. Lots of rules and regulations that seem on the surface silly, but we've all stayed healthy. So maybe silly, but it's paid dividends. And I guess if you work for the police department and all the policemen got COVID-19, what do you do?
Well, we had luckily, we've got, I think, something like 150 total employees. They're not all in the same building, but overall, and no one's come down with it. Thank goodness. I think there was one, maybe two people that I heard that had some sort of sickness, but it's probably just what we would call the flu.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And normally, if as long as you didn't have a temperature and you were feeling better again, whether that was 24 hours or 3 days later. Any other time before this year, it would just be up to you. No, I feel good enough to come back now, and here's my doctor's note. And,
sure.
But I know in this situation, they were sent home for like 2 weeks. And
that was someone you worked with?
Yes.
Okay.
And again, they had been tested and did not have the COVID-19 virus, but everyone was so on high alert.
Well, sure.
And it was like, well, we know that you probably don't have it, but even so, you're off for 2 weeks at least. And even then, the doctor has to clear you to say you should come back to work, and so and as long as you have, I guess, the vacation time or sick time, I couldn't really go that long. That would hurt us a lot. We're not wealthy, and so to lose 2 weeks' pay would be absolutely no good for me. But that's how things are right now.
Well, now where I work, somebody comes in, we say, "Oh, I'm sorry, but you can't come in. We're not accepting visitors right now." Or if you come in, well, I need to see so-and-so. Okay, well, we'll let you come in, but we have to take your temperature. You're not taking my temperature. Well, you have to put on a mask. I'm not wearing a mask. Well, what would be the first thing we would do? We'd call the police.
Yeah, well, then you have to leave. And if you don't leave, we're going to have someone come and make you leave.
But what do you do when someone comes into the police station saying something like that?
Yeah, you can't call us. We're already there.
But what I mean is, but I'm a citizen. I have rights. I need to talk to you. You're paid to protect and serve me. How do you handle something like that? Because a lot of times, let me try and be kind here. You don't deal with people who are 100% of the time 100% mentally stable. Would that be a fair and accurate statement?
Absolutely.
Okay, there you go. So how do you reason with somebody that if you have to lay hands on them and turn them around, well, now you've gotten close to them. What if they've got COVID-19? You've just been exposed.
It's unavoidable. I think we're all really lucky that we haven't had a single case,
not one case in the department.
In our agency, because, again,
wow.
You can't just not be around people. You have to.
That's part of the job.
And
that's what I mean.
And even before this coronavirus, I'm not someone – I have kind of a – I don't like the term germaphobe. I think it's overused, and it's been used so much it's lost all its meaning. But I guess if you want to call it that, but I've been that way for over 20 years. I don't like touching people if I don't have to anyway. Mm-hmm. So it didn't really change the way I would do things. I'm always going to try to talk someone down or talk through a situation rather than have to touch someone.
Sure.
I don't like it anyway. But
you don't like to touch, and they don't like to be touched. So
right.
make everybody happy.
And I don't want them touching me.
That's exactly right.
That's, whether I'm at work or no matter where I'm at. So my feelings on that didn't change one bit. But, yeah, it's unavoidable in that line of work. And it'd be like working on an ambulance. You can't not touch people. You have to take care of them.
Exactly.
You know?
Exactly. You cannot social distance when you're working in an accident scene.
Mm-hmm. That's right. They call it body substance isolation, which, regardless of corona, we would practice anyway. But
what is that?
It's just wearing gloves. If you're doing CPR, you've got some kind of a mask, like the one-way valve masks that they make.
Yes.
Anything that you're going to touch that if it didn't come from you, then you probably should have gloves and some kind of whatever protective gear you've got available.
So this is nothing new with the COVID-19. This has been kind of the way it's been for a while.
Yeah, well, for anyone who's a first responder, you've always just worked that way.
Mm-hmm. Because you don't know what you're getting into.
No.
And that's the other thing about how the job is so dangerous that some people may not realize. I'm just not talking about, okay, here's a guy going too fast. So you pull him over. And his windows are blacked out. So you can't see inside. But you still got to walk up to the car. Mm-hmm. That's dangerous. But that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the person who may be strung out on drugs, may be off their mental health medicine, maybe just something traumatic has happened to them and they're not in their right mind because they're freaking out because their child has just died and they've run in and they have to see you about this. They're not in their right mind. And you've got to handle that situation. And it can escalate quickly, I'm sure.
And there's people are almost always going through something that you don't know about or you can't tell by looking at them, and people do get emotional and they can get out of control very quickly. And someone who maybe is never violent could end up hurting you, and maybe they didn't really mean to, but they're kind of losing their mind. Let's say,
right.
So, and that comes out in all different ways: yelling, screaming, cursing, beating on things. Beating on you maybe.
I've been very fortunate, and I've not had even a speeding ticket in well over 30 years. Okay, I've been pulled over a time or two between 30 years ago and now, but they pull me over and they see my record's clean. They say, I'm going to give you a warning ticket. So I've gotten a warning ticket. I've just been warned. I've been told to be careful a couple of 3 times, but I've been very fortunate. But I've had cases where I've been done wrong by policemen. I'll give you an example. When I was a young man, very young man, I was driving my 1962 Ford Fairlane. That tells you how long ago that was. And me and a buddy of mine were in a neighborhood. I'll say it. It was Bridgeton, which is a suburb of St. Louis. And we're driving around. There was some girl we knew, and she lived in this area. So we're driving around real slow, trying to see if we can remember where her house was. Cops pull us over. And we both had long hair, but we weren't dope smokers or anything. Well, he made some assumptions. So he made us get out of the car. He took all the seats out of our car. He just tore that whole car apart. And when he saw nothing, he said, okay, have a nice day. And so we had to put the car back together, put the seats back in the car. Okay. To me, that wasn't a good cop. But that was the one bad experience I had out of many, many, many. So you're always going to get that, right?
I feel like everybody has a bad cop story.
I'm sure you do.
And even I do.
Sure,
yes.
Sure.
And I was about 22 years old. And, of course, I didn't dress back then the way I do now. And I guess...
You were 22.
Maybe I looked like a punk. I don't know. But I was driving I didn't own the car. I was driving my mother's car, which unfortunately the headlight burned out. I think it might have burned out that day while I was driving it, actually. But, I was in a town I wasn't familiar with, and long story short, the guy pulled me over and he accused me of drinking. And at that time, I was dating someone who didn't drink, and I hadn't drank in, probably over a year. And I said, sir, I don't know. And he thought I was being sarcastic, but I was not. And I don't know. And this guy, in my opinion, he was very unprofessional. I think if the same thing happened today, I probably would have talked to his chief or the mayor or somebody
Sure.
about it. But being a young guy, and impounded the car. Didn't tell me why. Well, he wouldn't let me. I said, well, let me blow then. I'm going to blow zeros. He didn't let me do that. He didn't give me any, the stand on 1 foot test. There was no testing. It was just him saying, I guess you look like a drinker, I guess. And impounded the car. Well, me and this girl, we had to walk. There was no street lights. It was a very desolate road. It was pitch black. Wouldn't let me get my coat out of the car. It was wintertime, so I'm in a T-shirt. And I don't know how far we walked. We walked what felt like miles. It might have only been 1 mile, but it was freezing. And we found a gas station, and we called her mother and said, you're not going to believe it, what happened, but we just need a ride. Just come pick us up. And when I went to the court date a couple weeks later, the judge basically said, I don't know why you're here. And this was a small town. I think it was Cedar Hill, I think it was.
Okay.
And so the way they did, it might be different now. This was years ago, but 15 years. But basically they pulled you into this, I guess, office, but it was the size of a closet. And you sit in this little closet, and it's just you and the judge, which to me is like, if you're a bailiff, you would never be okay with that. Like, get away from the judge. Don't stand there. There was no counter, or she didn't have the bench between you and her. It was just like a little desk, and you would just stand next to her, and she would tell you what your fine was and all that. And so she looks through. I guess it must have been a report. There had to have been a report done because he took my car and everything. And she's flipping this piece of paper around, and she goes, I just have to be honest. I don't know why you're here. And I said, I don't either. And there was a sign on the wall, like most courthouses would have. It said something like, there's a court cost. So even if you don't get a fine, you still have like maybe $25 or whatever it is in that city. And I remember seeing, it might have been $20. And I remember seeing that sign that said, have your money ready after you see the judge. And I go to hand her the money, and she says, just keep it, just get out of here. So obviously she didn't think I should have been in there. And so, you get to a point after you do this job, and it doesn't take very long. You'll be at a birthday party or just maybe a barbecue, and you get to where you don't really tell new people what you do because you don't want to hear their bad cop story.
Sure. And everybody's got one.
But some of them are entertaining, and it's like, I get it. I got one too,
Well, here's the deal. I'm a salesman. Everybody's got umpteen bajillion bad salesman stories.
Yeah.
And one a month, maybe.
Yeah.
You talk about a profession that's it's bad apples, but our lives aren't in danger. So I laugh, but you really can't compare the two. I wanted to ask you that question. We hadn't talked about it previously, but I knew you had a bad cop story because everybody does.
Yeah.
When the cop pulled me over and tore my car apart, when he impounded your car, that wasn't a cop that did it because we were black, because we're both white, okay? And there certainly is racism out there, so don't misunderstand what I'm saying. And there certainly are racist cops out there, so don't misunderstand what I'm saying. But everybody has had problems with the police at one time or another. Knowing that, I always told my boys, here's what you do when you're pulled over by a policeman. And I'm going to tell you this story, and you tell me if I'm off base. I mean, none of them ever had any problems, so I guess it worked for them. But I always told them, I said, when you're pulled over, I said, the first thing you do is take your wallet out of your back pocket and throw it on the dashboard. Put both hands at the 12 o'clock position on the steering wheel. Roll down your window and speak when spoken to. Yes, sir. No, sir. Yes, sir. Let me see your driver's license. It's in my wallet on the dashboard. May I reach for that wallet, please? Yes, you may. And when you go into it, may I see the registration of your car? Sir, that's in my glove box. May I reach in my glove box and get that? Go ahead, and you move very slowly, and you do that. And I've always told my boys, you need to remember two things. First of all, you don't know what he's all about. He doesn't know what you're all about, but you don't know what he's all about. And he has a gun and you do not. So if you're treated poorly, if you're treated badly, just yes, sir, no, sir. And then after you're done, then we'll see a lawyer. Is that the right way to handle things?
Yeah, I mean, I would say so. I would say in the wallet thing, there's nothing really wrong with that. But if an officer pulls a car over, if he's been trained, what he's supposed to be doing is, even though now both cars have come to a stop, you should still be looking in the mirror, through the back glass if you can. It might be tinted, but if you can, whatever you can see. And so someone, say, moving around and reaching for something